Have you ever stood in front of a woman and thought, she already knows, I'm not what she's looking for? You lower your voice. You shrink your presence. Because deep down, you've already assumed the outcome. But here's a truth that most men never realize. Most women don't actually know what they want until they feel it. Not when they see it. Not when they hear it. But when they feel a man's presence that doesn't bend to their approval. And that's what this is about. You've been told attraction is instant. That if she doesn't show interest right away, she never will. That once you're rejected, the game is over. But that's not how reality works. Attraction is not a lightning strike. It's a quiet shift. And often, the shift begins after you've stopped trying to impress her. If you've ever walked away from an interaction wondering, was I not tall enough? Not rich enough? Not her type? You've missed the real question. The question is, did you show up as a man she's never met before? Calm, grounded, and certain of his value. Because that man, he doesn't seek approval. He doesn't chase. He doesn't perform. He enters the room already full. He listens more than he speaks. He doesn't try to be liked. He simply is. And when a woman meets that kind of man, her perception begins to shift. Not because you begged for her interest, but because you refused to need it. In a world where most men fall to pieces at the first sign of coldness, you're about to learn how to remain centered. This video isn't about tricks. It's not about lines. And it's definitely not about pretending. It's about becoming the kind of man who changes the energy in the room without saying a word. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to approach any woman, not by proving yourself, but by proving to yourself that you no longer chase what doesn't serve you. Let's begin. 1. Don't worship her beauty. Observe her behavior. Most men surrender their power the moment they meet a beautiful woman, not because she takes it, but because they give it away. They see her face, her body, her presence, and suddenly they forget what really matters. They stop evaluating. They start performing. But here's the truth. Beauty is not rare. Character is. And what separates a man of depth from the rest is his ability to look beyond appearances. Because beauty fades, but behavior reveals everything. So instead of reacting to how she looks, watch how she moves through the world. How does she treat people she doesn't need? How does she handle silence? How does she respond to not being the center of attention? The man who watches instead of chasing is the man who remains in control. Women are used to being adored instantly. They expect praise. They expect pursuit. But when you don't follow the script, when you don't fall into their rhythm, they notice, and they don't know why you're different. But they feel it. That mystery, that unpredictability, isn't a tactic. It's what happens when you value yourself enough to observe before engaging. Let me give you an example. You walk into a lounge. There's a gorgeous woman at the bar. Every guy is staring, smiling, waiting for their turn. But you sit. You watch. You notice how she speaks to the bartender. Is she dismissive, polite, entitled? You hear what she talks about. Is it only herself or something with depth? You observe not to judge, but to understand. And from that place of awareness, you make a choice. Most men ignore red flags because they're intoxicated by looks. But you've trained your eyes to see deeper. You don't chase what's shiny. You wait to see what's solid. And when she realizes you're not enchanted by her beauty, you become the one she wants to figure out. Because self-restraint is rare, stillness is powerful, and indifference to her appearance makes your presence impossible to ignore. That's the quiet strength of a Stoic man. He doesn't worship what the world tells him to desire. He defines value on his own terms. So let others rush to flatter her. You slow down. You don't speak to impress. You observe to understand. Because in a world that chases image, you seek essence. And that choice is what sets you apart. 2. Stop chasing her. You are the prize. Most men walk into a conversation with a woman already defeated. They don't say it, but you can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their voice. I hope she likes me. I hope I'm enough. I hope I don't say the wrong thing. That mindset, that's the reason she loses interest before the first sentence finishes. Because here's the truth. When you approach a woman like she's better than you, she'll believe it too. And when she senses you're chasing her approval, she pulls away. Not because she's cruel, but because neediness is repelling. It signals weakness, and weakness is never attractive. You've been told your whole life that women are the prize, that your job is to impress, to convince, to earn her time, that you must prove yourself worthy. Movies, music, social media, they all whisper the same lie. Win her over, and you win happiness. But that's not the truth. You are the prize, not because of arrogance, not because you think you're better, but because you know your value. You know what you bring. You know what you stand for. The man who walks in knowing this, he moves differently. He speaks without hesitation. He doesn't seek permission to lead. He doesn't shrink to be liked. He stands tall, calm, and sure of who he is. And that energy, that's magnetic. Women notice it, even if they don't say it. They feel it, because confidence, real confidence, doesn't perform. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't chase applause. It just is. You want her to respect you, then stop proving yourself. Start holding yourself. You don't need to act alpha. You don't need to dominate the room. You just need to stop handing your worth to her attention. She's not the judge of your value. She's just another person, trying to figure out if you fit her life, just like you should be figuring out if she fits yours. Ask yourself, do you walk into a room hoping to be chosen, or do you walk in already chosen by yourself? This shift in mindset changes everything. You're no longer chasing. You're evaluating. You're no longer begging. You're observing. You're not saying, I hope she picks me. You're asking, does she deserve a place in my world? Because your world, your peace, your time, your presence are not cheap. They are earned. And the minute you stop putting her on a pedestal, the minute you stop bending just to be seen, you rise. You stop trying to get her to see your worth, because you've already seen it yourself. And once you do that, something powerful happens. She starts to lean in. She starts to question. She starts to wonder, who is this man who doesn't need me to like him? That's when attraction begins. Not when you chase, but when you stand still and let her come to you. This isn't ego. This is balance. You've spent too long thinking you're not enough. But the truth is, you've just been acting like she is more than you. She's not. You're not. You're equal. But the man who knows his worth always becomes the one worth chasing. 3. Approach without needing her to like you. Here's the paradox. No one tells you. The more you need her to like you, the less she will. Not because you're not good enough, but because neediness pushes her away. It smells like insecurity. It tells her without a word that you've placed her above you, and a man who puts her on a pedestal has already stepped off his own. That's how most men lose the moment before it even begins. They walk up with a hidden agenda, not to connect, but to get something, approval, attention, validation. And women feel that energy. It's subtle, but it's real. She may not know what's off, but her instincts do. You've been there. That tension in your chest, that pressure to say the right thing, that fear of silence. You're not in the moment. You're in your head, calculating. Why? Because deep down, you've already tied your self-worth to her response. That's the trap. Attachment to outcome. It's not about what you say. It's about why you're saying it. When you walk into an interaction hoping to be liked, you hand over your emotional stability to a stranger, and every word, every pause, every gesture becomes a performance. But here's the truth. Real power is when you no longer need anything in return. You approach because you're full, not empty. You're curious, not disparity. You're not fishing for approval. You're offering presence. The most attractive men don't chase outcomes. They don't mold themselves to be accepted. They show up as they are and let the moment reveal what's real. If she connects, great. If she doesn't, also great. Either way, the man walks away whole because his self-respect doesn't swing on someone else's opinion. This is the shift. You stop trying to win her. You start watching if she aligns with you. You don't talk to impress. You speak to express. You don't fear reaction. You recognize redirection. And when that becomes your reality, you reclaim your freedom. You no longer fear silence. You no longer chase reaction. You're grounded in who you are. Let her respond how she wants. Let her feel what she feels. That's not your responsibility. Your only job is to show up as yourself, unapologetically, calmly, completely. Because when a woman sees that you're not trying to impress her, she starts wondering why. And that question sparks interest, not because you played a game, but because you weren't playing one at all. She starts to sense something different, something rare. A man who doesn't seek approval because he already has his own. This kind of presence is magnetic, not loud, not flashy, but steady, unshakable. She'll remember the way you looked at her without flinching, the way you held space instead of filling it, the way you made her feel seen without losing sight of yourself. That's the man she thinks about later. Not because he begged for attention, but because he gave her something real to respond to. So next time you see her, don't approach to get something. Approach to give her a chance, to experience someone who doesn't need anything from her. And whether she's drawn to you or not, you walk away the same man you were before. Whole, steady, and unshaken. That's not indifference. That's power. 4. Flirt boldly, then pull back. Most men flirt like they're trying to win a prize. Too many words, too much praise, too desperate to be liked. But flirting isn't about proving anything. It's about creating tension, then walking away from it. It's about making her feel something she can't explain. Real flirting doesn't chase. It dares. It teases. And then it disappears. When you flirt, let her know you're interested. But don't worship her. No begging. No excessive compliments. No validation overload. Look her in the eyes. Smile with confidence. Say something bold. Then back off. Why? Because attention without absence is just noise. But attention that vanishes, that becomes memory. She expects your focus. So when you shift it away calmly, without drama, you trigger uncertainty. And uncertainty is powerful. It lives in her mind. It makes her wonder. It creates that small, electric question. Wait, what just happened? That's the start of attraction. Flirt like you know your worth, because the man who's not afraid to step away is the man who owns the moment. This isn't about playing games. It's about creating space, because in that space curiosity grows, and curiosity is what makes her think of you long after the conversation ends. Here's how it works. You tease her gently. You lean in just enough. You give her a spark. Then you walk. Maybe you turn to talk to someone else. Maybe you leave her message on read. Not out of spite, but to remind her that your energy isn't free. Most men flood women with attention, hoping it'll lead to attraction, but all it does is drown the mystery. Mystery is what moves her. Mystery is what keeps her mind active. And when you flirt boldly, then disappear, you give her something to chase. Just when she thinks she understands you, you change rhythm. You slow down. You go quiet. Not cold, not rude, just unavailable for a moment. That's when her emotions catch up. That's when she starts chasing. Push, pull, fire, silence. That's how tension is built. That's how attraction lasts. Remember, you're not trying to be predictable. You're trying to be unforgettable. So flirt with presence, then pull away with purpose. Make her feel your absence. As much as she felt your presence, let her earn the next moment. Let her feel the contrast. And when you reappear, she'll be listening closer, watching tighter, investing more. That's not manipulation. That's awareness. That's control. That's power. 5. Challenge her. Don't compliment her. Most men think compliments are the way in. Tell her she's beautiful. Tell her she's amazing. Tell her what every other man already has. They believe that flattery earns favor, that praise equals progress. But here's the truth. It doesn't. In fact, too many compliments do the opposite. They make you seem unsure of yourself, like you're trying to buy her attention. And women can feel that. The energy of a man who's giving to get something, it's not attractive. It's needy. Because when every word is a validation, you're not leading. You're following. You're not connecting. You're hoping. And hoping isn't masculine. It's uncertain. It's soft. It's invisible. So what should you do instead? Challenge her. Not to argue, not to belittle, but to remind her that you see through surface. Because women don't crave constant approval. They crave stimulation. Mental, emotional, energetic. They want to be around someone who makes them think, who questions their assumptions, who doesn't just nod along and agree with everything. Why? Because challenge creates contrast. It separates you from every man who flatters her. It signals strength. It shows you have your own thoughts, your own spine, your own presence. Imagine this. She says something you disagree with. Most men smile, nod, and pretend to care. You pose, you look her in the eye, and you say, "I don't see it that way." That's a moment she won't forget. Not because you rejected her, but because you stood your ground. She'll feel it. That rare tension, the spark of someone she can't control. And that spark, it's attractive. You're not just another echo. You're a man with depth. A man she can't predict. A man who doesn't need her approval to feel like himself. Challenge isn't confrontation. It's clarity. It's knowing that your role isn't to make her feel comfortable all the time. It's to be real, to bring your full self to the moment, to test if she can meet you where you truly stand. That's what makes it powerful. It doesn't mean being rude. It doesn't mean always disagreeing. It means being honest, sharp, and selective. Ask her better questions. Dig deeper into what she believes. Push her gently to think in ways she hasn't, not to break her down, but to see if she can stand up next to you. Because attraction isn't built on agreement, it's built on tension, on contrast, on the feeling of being challenged and inspired at the same time. And here's the beauty of it. When you challenge her in the right way, she becomes more invested, more engaged. She leans in, not because she's being entertained, but because she's being seen. You're not chasing her. You're inviting her into something deeper, into a dynamic where respect replaces approval. Because compliments make her feel good, but challenges make her feel alive. So don't tell her what she wants to hear. Tell her what's real. Speak like a man who knows himself, not to prove you're right, but to show that you won't disappear just to be liked. Let your presence say, "I'm not here to impress. I'm here to express." And that kind of energy, it doesn't just attract her, it awakens her. 6. Make her earn your interest. One of the strongest moves a man can make is to stop giving his interest away for free. Most men reveal their hand too early. They give attention too soon. They compliment too often. They express desire without standards. And just like that, the mystery is gone. The value disappears. You've shown her that you're already invested, before she's even earned your attention. And the truth is, what comes easy rarely gets respected. Women don't fall for what they can have without effort. They fall for what they must rise to reach. If you give your time, your attention, your energy too quickly, you rob her of the experience of earning you. You become another man in line, not a man of value. So what's the shift? You don't act cold. You don't play games. You simply stop handing over your interest without purpose. She should feel it. That you're observing, not offering. That you're weighing, not chasing. You're not here to entertain. You're here to decide. A high-value man doesn't move fast because he's not desperate. He moves with calm, with choice, with standard. He knows his interest is rare, and if she wants it, she must earn it. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means discernment. It means knowing that your attention is currency and you don't spend it recklessly. When a woman doesn't have to work for your energy, she doesn't value it. It becomes background noise, expected, entitled. But when she senses that you're different, that you're centered in your own mission, that you're not available to just anyone, her frame changes. She begins to question, why isn't he chasing me? What does he actually want? What makes him so self-assured? And that questioning becomes curiosity. That curiosity becomes attraction. You don't have to say anything flashy. You don't have to withhold affection in some manipulative way. You just hold your center. You stay focused on your path. And she becomes the one deciding how she can step into your world, not the other way around. Think of it like this. You are the fire. She is drawn to the warmth. But if you keep throwing wood at the flame for no reason, it will choke. It will smother, and she'll walk away from the heat you tried too hard to give. Instead, let the fire burn steady, strong, without needing attention. That's what draws her in. Women are drawn to men who are already fulfilled, who don't need them to feel valuable, who don't prove themselves by chasing. And when she senses that your world is full, but that there's room for someone worthy, she begins to qualify herself. She begins to pursue, not because you withheld affection, but because you didn't offer it too easily. This is how the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer performing. You're no longer reacting. You're choosing. So the next time you meet a woman, don't start with compliments. Don't start with open doors and open plans. Start with, Presence. Start with stillness. Start with the quiet truth that she needs to earn her place beside you. Let your energy say, "I'm not impressed by looks. I don't need you to validate me. I have peace, and you'll have to bring more than charm to earn it." Because the man who gives his interest too soon gets forgotten just as fast. But the man who guards it like something precious becomes unforgettable. 7. Leave before she gets comfortable. Most men make the same mistake. They stay too long. They give too much. They try too hard to prove they're worth staying for, and in doing so, they lose the very thing that made them interesting in the first place: mystery. Attraction is not built in constant presence. It's built in space. It grows in absence, in curiosity, in the gaps between connection. But too many men fear losing her, so they cling. They become available at all hours. They respond instantly. They show up every time she calls before she even wonders if you might be busy. And when she never has to work for your time, she begins to assume it holds no value. Let me be clear. If she never gets the chance to miss you, she'll never realize what it feels like to crave you. You need to leave not because you're cold, but because you know how powerful your absence can be. It's easy to think that staying longer, giving more, always being there will deepen the bond. But in reality, you're training her to take you for granted. You're teaching her that your presence is expected, not earned. That's when the energy shifts. She gets comfortable. She stops chasing. She stops wondering, and slowly, the spark dies. You don't have to disappear completely, but you do have to know when to exit the room. Exit the conversation while it's still alive. End the night while she still wants more. Let the text go unanswered for just long enough to remind her you have a life outside of her attention. That's not playing games. That's creating polarity. That's how you protect the edge that makes you desirable. When you leave while the moment still holds heat, you become unresolved in her mind. You leave a trace, and it's in that trace that desire takes root. Men who never leave, who overstay every interaction, who keep talking when the silence would have said more, fade into the background. They become predictable, forgettable. But the man who knows when to step away, he lingers in her thoughts. He keeps her guessing. He stays rare. Here's the rule. Don't let your presence become noise. Let it be an event. Be the kind of man who values his time, who doesn't offer it on demand. Because a man who respects his own energy forces others to do the same. And when she realizes that your time isn't guaranteed, that your attention has boundaries, she starts to chase what was once chasing her. Make her earn your return. Let her feel the stillness when you're gone. Let her wonder where you went, what you're doing, and when she'll get to experience you again. Most men stay too long out of fear, but the Stoic man leaves from strength. He knows that walking away at the right moment amplifies his presence more than staying ever could. So don't apologize for your space. Don't fear her disappointment. Don't shrink just to stay close. Be willing to walk, not because you want her to suffer, but because you refuse to stay where you're no longer felt. That's how you stay unforgettable. That's how you keep the fire alive. If you've been bending over backward to win her over, texting non-stop, over-complimenting, trying to be the perfect guy, take a breath. That path only leads one way, to invisibility. When a man chases approval, he loses presence. And once you give away your energy without boundaries, you stop being respected. The truth is, you were never meant to be everyone's type, and you don't have to be. Rejection isn't a sign you're not good enough. It's a filter. It removes those who were never aligned with your worth in the first place. You're not here to impress her. You're here to be honest, to lead your life from the center, with or without her recognition. Women are drawn to men who have direction, who live by principle, not permission, who offer their time with intention, and don't lower their standards just to be accepted. So, if you've been stuck in that cycle of needing validation, stop. You don't need to prove anything, not to her, not to anyone. The man who walks away from what doesn't honor him becomes more powerful than the one who stays to be chosen. Let her feel your absence. If your presence isn't appreciated, let her miss what she once took for granted. And above all, let your silence say what your words no longer need to. Because at the end of the day, you're not the one hoping to be worthy. You are the standard. Now it's your move. If this spoke to something in you, drop a comment and let others know they're not alone. Because every time a man rises in silence, he reminds others of what it means to be unshakable.